What's poppin', everybody? Welcome to Tom and Joey Entertainment, a.k.a. TJENT. This is Real Talk with Tom and Joey Game of Thrones edition, or as Tom likes to say it, Medieval edition.
Medieval, yes.
And speaking of, Tom, how you doing?
I'm collecting my thoughts.
Yes.
After last night.
Yeah.
Good setup.
It was
Great setup.
lot of setup, and then they kind of ended with a bang because it's like it's Game of Thrones second to last season. It's almost like they weren't going to let you get away with not having any action in a single episode.
And anything bad.
Yeah.
Like, bad stuff has to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to equal out with the good with the bad.
Yeah.
So, this is our reactions for Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 2, Stormborn, as Game of Thrones likes to call their episodes. Definitely a good episode. But what we're going to do is we're going to step through scene by scene. I have it marked down on my phone. I went through the episode again and marched down.
We're going to reenact every single one of them.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll be Daenerys.
Yeah, how are we going to do... How are we going to... We'll get to
CGI
that.
everyone.
We'll get to that scene later. So what we're going to do, I have the entire episode listed out scene by scene. So what we're going to do is we're going to step through each like scenario and kind of just gather our thoughts and get our reactions.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
That sounds like we're going to do that.
That sounds
exactly like what we're about to do.
Exactly what we're about to do. And then we're going to get into some fan/Patreon supporter reactions.
Yes.
And if you want to get on the show,
where do you go?
Patreon.com/TJENT. And we're running a special during Game of Thrones Season 7. No matter what tier you're at, $1, $2, $5, or $10 a month, you can get your posts on the show. If you post on our Patreon.com, obviously you have to be a supporter first. If you get your post in by 5 o'clock on Monday, the Monday after Game of Thrones, we will see it. And
be reasonable.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about it, and you'll get yourself on the show. So go ahead and give us a few bucks to support, and you get that lovely perk.
Dope.
Real dope.
Real dope.
Real dope.
Dope.
Mad dope. And then we're going to get into our critically acclaimed Game of Thrones power rankings.
Oh, yeah. Critically acclaimed by us.
Yes, by us.
Critiquing our own critically acclaimed awards.
Yes.
Critically acclaimed Inception.
Reacception.
Reacception.
That was my favorite. Every time I heard that part from when I was editing our first episode, every time reacception, I would just laugh. That shit was hilarious. All right. We're going to swan dive right into this episode. So first scene, Daenerys is having a council meeting at Dragonstone. And really kind of the big part of this first scene was her conversation with Varys, where she kind of put Varys on the spot and kind of see where his mindset was, because she challenged him right away.
Yeah.
And when probably, I mean, from the look on his face, he didn't expect any hostility whatsoever.
And it's also some foreshadowing.
Yes.
Because we'll get into it with the final scene,
Mm-hmm.
but there could be a situation where Dany does not trust Varys at all. And
could be a mole amok.
He could be a little worm, but we'll get into that more later. But she still opened the panel up, was listening to everybody, which is huge because she's just proving that she is a queen of the people.
Yeah.
And she's willing to compromise on certain things, which could be great, could be her downfall. We'll see. But
as we've seen in this show, usually the leaders and the kings and the lords, as they say in Game of Thrones, usually when they listen to their counsel,
it's better.
It's better.
Yeah.
It works out for them.
Yeah. And
they don't get poisoned or stabbed in the face.
Or head cut off or whatever.
Yeah.
So all for it. And Tyrion is a huge part in this scene because he knows Cersei better than everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So her listening to Tyrion, it's like, you better, because he knows exactly what her moves are going to be. He knows how she operates.
Mm-hmm.
So the longer that those two are together, the better it'll be if a Lannister-Targaryen war is to break out.
And you got to think, if you're Daenerys, and really any person on Daenerys' team or in her like leadership, you have to trust Tyrion more than, like, I mean, obviously people that don't know Tyrion, they just hear Lannister and they just think that automatically can't trust him.
Yeah.
But people in her inner circle, especially with what he's given and what he's done, even especially when Daenerys and Drogon left, and what Tyrion had to do in Meereen, everything that he's done up to this point has definitely gained him that rep, and I feel like he is going to be arguably the key to winning the big battle.
Off the top of my head, when has he really been wrong?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, really,
I can't really think of a
hasn't.
time where he's like really whiffed a decision.
No.
I mean, I can't really.
Yeah,
think of
I
one.
mean, I can't really think. He's gone through. I think it's 2 trial by combats. One with Bronn in the Lords of the Vale when he pushed him down that moon door, and then when Bran pushed him down the moon door, and then one obviously in King's Landing with Oberyn.
and he fought in the war.
Oh yeah, and then that's when he got his face cut.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Paul had put that spear for that dude's face,
and he got the dragons out. I mean,
that's right. And he had that anecdote about always wanting a dragon.
He's put his ass on the line.
Oh yeah,
more so than a lot of characters, more so than any king, other than Jon.
Yeah,
but
yeah, definitely a great scene.
Yep.
And I just thought that Varys conversation was pretty interesting because
foreshadowing.
Yeah, for sure. Then we go. It's still with Daenerys, but Melisandre comes to town.
Oh yeah.
And then this is the first. I have it all caps in my notes here. The first. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Moment.
We were pretty amped about this scene.
And in particular, when they were talking about the prince that was chosen to come down, and then Daenerys says that she's not a prince, and then Missandei says that her translation could be prince or princess. And then when Melisandre says, you have a role to play as well does another. And as soon as she said that, like, just goosebumps throughout the whole body.
Everyone that
exactly.
wants, and everyone that wants this dynamic duo of Jon and Daenerys is like, finally, it's coming to fold. And again, Tyrion, huge role, because he was with Jon, and
excellent judge of character, or whatever he says.
And not to mention, Jon has every reason to hate every Lannister, and Tyrion brings that up and says, "Listen, if anyone wants to behead every Lannister in Westeros, it's Jon Snow."
Yeah.
And guess what? He has Arya too. Well, not Arya yet, but he has Sansa, and Arya's on his way. I mean, Tyrion knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So again, great shout by him, but we finally get some sort of connection. The only thing is, Daenerys was very staunch about him bending the knee.
And that's what I was going to ask you about, because she's mentioned specifically, and I feel like they kind of put that as like a haymaker towards, like, this is good news. Like, I know you're pumped about this, but listen to this final line before we switch to another scene. And she says, and bend the knee, and it kind of just like the exclamation point on
I do have a little bit of a caveat to that, because I think that it's fine, because Jon does not want to be king. And I've always said that about Jon. That's one of the reasons why I liked him. And he even mentions later in his speech to all the other lords of the North, I never wanted to be king. You made me your king, and I will lead you.
Yeah.
But this isn't what I want.
True.
And I don't think he cares about the throne. It's just Daenerys can't come off as a dickhead and be like, you need to do everything I say, yada, yada, yada. Jon needs her to be willing to fight the White Walkers, because that's what he wants.
Yeah. I mean,
and
you're not going to beat the White Walkers without the dragons.
Right.
Period.
And Daenerys just wants to rule. And they both can do that. That's fine. But Jon's got to get his piece out. And if he doesn't feel like he is, then he's not going to bend the knee. And then Daenerys is going to be all pissed off. Yeah. So, I mean, I
think the action of bending the knee seems to, at least throughout this show, it almost has like a negative context to it. Because anytime it's come up in a situation, it's with an evil dick king who wants person to bend the knee, who's got more power than them and just wants to submit to them.
But it's kind of ironic, because the vast majority of lords aren't in the throne.
Yeah.
So everyone does technically have to, except pretty much one person.
Yeah.
So it's like known as like, oh, you have to bend the knee to me, but it's like, so what?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone does it. It's
because Dany's not an asshole. And as long as Jon likes her, which I'm sure he will, especially when they figure out they're cousins.
That they're actually related.
Yeah. And I saw another meme today about the best way to use alliances is with marriage, because Dany said that a while ago. Yeah. It's like, are you not like understanding incest?
Yeah.
Like, this is a thing that they pointed out that I don't think they'll end up, maybe not like Daenerys will be Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and then Jon will be King of the North or something like that.
That's what I'm thinking, because that's what Ned was.
Yeah, and plus Jon doesn't belong in the South.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to be.
Yeah.
So let him take the Northern Kingdoms, exactly what Ned did.
Mm-hmm. So after Melisandre drops that bomb, and we just get all excited about a Jon Snow Daenerys meetup, you go to Winterfell, and then Jon and Sansa get the Raven from Tyrion, and Dany talking about the invitation, and then you have Sansa and Davos. And especially, I think the biggest part of this scene is Davos and Jon realizing that the only way that we're going to beat, like the best way to beat the White Walkers is with fire, and dragons breathe it, and there's 3 of them.
Yeah, almost at our disposal. And again, we see Tyrion put a little niblet at the end.
Yeah, the quote, all dwarves are bastards in their father's eyes.
Because Sansa's like, oh, what if it's fake? And Jon's like, this isn't fake. But again,
he said this when he first met me.
already see that those two are connecting in some. They definitely get along great, and I think that they have such similar characteristics that they both treat each other well. And Jon even puts it to Sansa and says, well, what do you think? You know him better than all of us. Yeah. And Sansa even backs him up and says, he's not a Lannister.
Yeah, like
he treated me well.
But it's just not safe.
It's just not safe, which...
After seeing Robb, Ned, all of her family die.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's pretty safe to say.
It's easy for us as like spectators to be like, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But for her perspective, it's like,
obviously you are
going to die.
Don't leave me. We just got back together.
Yeah. So, but still, see Jon divert a little bit of power to Sansa. You see Tyrion reaching out to Jon personally. Mm-hmm. And
that quote was badass.
I think Jon knows through that he's going to have to succumb to her being ruler.
Yeah.
He's too smart to not think that.
And he's too much. I mean, because out of at least these first 2 episodes, whenever there's a scene with Jon, they show him stressing the White Walkers.
Yeah.
And especially in this episode too, where we'll get to that in a later scene.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's in a later scene. So then we from the Raven, that was kind of a shorter scene. And then we go to Cersei on the Iron Throne, pleading to the Lords of Westeros, specifically the Towleys.
Yeah.
That's how you say it. Specifically the lords that were faithful to Tyrell's Olenna for years and years. And then the one thing that I wanted to, and yes, it's a little typical Joey praise of Cersei, and I told you about this last night when we were watching the episode. The one thing, I mean, you may not Cersei, she's killed all good characters. She
sucks. Yeah. She's horrible.
Yes.
She should die.
But
yeah, I agree.
She, at least in that scene specifically, she definitely showed her political savvy. That's the phrase I was looking for. Political savvy and her diplomacy when it comes to kind of brainwashing and flipping the script with when it comes to these lords, because she's talking about how Dany fed these lords to the dragons and set them on fire and crucified them, but it's like she's just talking about everything that Daenerys did, but nothing that the Masters did to deserve that.
Right.
So the diplomacy there shown by Cersei to kind of just talk about the negatives and just say, oh, she's terrible, she's going to do the same thing.
And what the Mad King did.
Yeah,
blah,
exactly.
Blah, blah,
it's
blah,
just, it runs in the family. She's got dragons.
I just don't think that's sustainable, because the second anyone gets overrun by Daenerys, they just sort of like, well, she's nothing like her dad.
Not to mention, as soon as any one of those soldiers sees 3 dragons, especially Drogon,
like, it's over.
Yeah.
And on top of all of that, Daenerys does have a good counsel, and I think that if you're a family that already hates Cersei, because no one really respects her. No, very few, at least, I would argue. Well,
the only feeling that everyone has towards Cersei is that they're scared of her, pretty much.
Maybe.
Not everybody, but like the ones that aren't just brutal hatred, the ones that are still in King's Landing kind of pledging their allegiance basically because they just saw the Sept get blown up and they don't want to get killed.
Maybe.
So it's just like, we're scared of you. We don't support you.
That's true. But I was just thinking like it's more just like she's on the throne.
Yeah.
That's just honor system. But
that makes sense.
But I think that once Daenerys comes to show, hey, here's my Dothraki, because again, she brings the Dothraki up again. Okay, Dothraki, Unsullied, and dragons. Every other family that's smart is going to be like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead on that side because everyone hates your guts and you kind of suck. And she's telling me that all she cared about was being enslaved.
And all it takes is one
to
turn on Cersei, and then everyone else is going to follow.
Which is why Jaime was pleading his case even after she gave her speech and just be like, come on, just one of you.
Yeah. And then that leads to the second scene. This was one of the funny, just the small little tidbits that Game of Thrones includes that kind of makes you laugh aside from all the chaos, is when when Jaime first goes up to Towley and he says, oh, you know my son, of course. And he's like, yeah, is it Rickon? And he's like, no, it's Dickon.
It's Dickon.
I thought that was hilarious. Just, I don't even know how you spell that. Just Dick-on. Yeah. I don't even know. I thought that was pretty hilarious. And it's a typical like Game of Thrones to just kind of sneak that humor
lighten up
in
the
there.
Mood, yeah.
So then Jaime approaches Towley and then eventually offers him to be Warden of the South if he fights with Cersei and takes out their enemies.
He does, though.
Yeah.
Not Cersei.
Correct.
Important to note, because if things do go right for them and he doesn't get Warden of the South, I could see him turning. Yeah,
because my thing is that I wonder what he's going to, because he said kill her enemies, all of her enemies. So I feel like there was a little bit of a hidden thing of maybe he's going to ask Lord Tolly to kill someone specifically, and it's
Maybe.
got to have some link back to Sam being his son.
I mean, there's no, they emphasized it for a reason.
Yeah, it has to be something to do with Sam's relationship with someone.
Yeah. I mean, I could see them trying to get Sam to turn on John.
Yeah.
But I just don't.
Or get Sam to get
my
together
God.
with John.
You want to talk about my hell on earth? Sam killing John, because I remember we were talking to someone I was talking with the war. I think it was Hardhome or something, and like, what if Sam turns into a White Walker and kills John? And I was like, I might kill myself. Like that
just
would be,
might stop watching the show.
Yeah, that would ruin my life.
Just Tom in it.
But now he can come back to life. So.
Yeah, so it's no problem. Okay, so then we go to the first scene with Jorah. And this is where we say R.I.P. to my stomach.
Yeah, I'm good at this.
Yeah.
It doesn't faze me.
And I've explained this in the last reaction. Anything that has to do with stuff growing on skin, no matter
think he looks
what
badass, to be honest.
We could not disagree more on this subject, because especially when they do the close-ups, and it's like they do it on purpose. Because it's like, we know Game of Thrones, the budget is just outrageous. So the makeup, everything is going to look just as legit as possibly can get. And just when they do the zoom in and just to see him, even when he takes his shirt off, just to see all the layers.
I think he looks dope.
Oh, man. It's just.
I think you should keep it.
Just keep.
If he can live with it, I think definitely keep it.
I think it looks dope. You don't have to cure me.
It's a good look.
But my thing is that, and then it eventually goes to Sam in the Citadel asking.
Good shout by Tanner.
Yes. Yeah,
Great
I mean,
shout.
he Kobe Bryant that from like half court, saying that Sam was going to try and cure Jorah of grayscale.
Yep.
So he was in the Citadel talking to the Archmaester, asked him if he had permission to do it. He said no, and then he went to Jorah's place anyway, and he did that scene when he was cutting off the grayscale, and it was just absolutely disgusting.
You and I are
how
both on the
close
same
up
page
they
with
got
Jorah,
that.
though. Like, I don't hate Jorah, but I don't like Jorah either. Why is he taking up airtime?
My thing, and I was thinking about this today on my drive back. There has to be, you have to think that, especially now, if they're going to give people airtime, especially this much airtime, and you got to think, not even airtime, but a significance of the story to the point where they're striving to cure him of grayscale, a disease known throughout the show that's incurable.
Yeah.
They have a destination for people that get grayscale.
Yeah.
So you got to think, my thought is that if it eventually happens where Jorah's cured, and then something happens where Daenerys is about to get stabbed or cut or something, and then Jorah comes out of nowhere and ends up saving her, because you got to think that connection, the roller coaster of their like emotional connection, has got to come to fruition, especially if they're keeping him around.
I would assume it's just weird now.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I mean, that's a good call though. I could definitely see a situation where they use him because he already has grayscale.
Yeah, right.
So
just send him into something.
Yeah, just like go in front of everyone,
Yeah.
just bear hug every like stone man.
Yeah.
Just be like, nope, I got this, guys.
And
Don't
they
worry.
showed a little preview of like the skin underneath the grayscale, and God, he was going to cut off all of that shit. Oh, what is Jorah gonna look like?
Dope.
Ugh.
I think he's gonna look sick.
Fucking disgusting is what he's gonna look like. So then after that, they go to the basement of King's Landing, where might be my least favorite part of the episode, not because of the scene itself, but because of what it could mean. And they go into the basement of King's Landing, and the wizard guy, I keep forgetting his name. I forget what his name is. Cersei's right-hand man that's not
Your
the mountain.
favorite character.
Yeah. They go into the basement, and they show off, obviously, the crossbow that
And-
puts a fucking arrow through, what's his name? Balerian's head.
Valyrian.
Skull. Yeah.
So I remember last night you saying you do 180 on Cersei. If what would happen?
If she killed it, if any of them was responsible for killing
that
any of
would
the
do
dragons,
it. That would do it.
complete 180.
That's ludicrous.
The dragons
but-
are so dope, and they show them so little that how are they going to put them in a scene? And then like because there hasn't been like a double-digit amount of scenes that they've been in. So it's like, how are you going to put them in that little scenes and then kill one of them? Can't you just make it so they're all there?
One's going to die.
Yeah, it has to, because Game of Thrones is too much Game of Thrones to not
let
at least
one die.
They're not going to kill them all. That would just be fucking stupid. I would hope. Like we were talking about, like
Red Wedding style,
the show's
yeah.
just gonna end with all the dragons dying, Dany and Jon dying,
The White Walkers
and the White
winning.
Walkers are gonna sit on the Iron
What's
Throne
up,
with Cersei.
bitches? Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
So yeah, if she killed a dragon, Like,
God, I hope that happens just so I can taste all the moments where you said you like
where I'm
Cersei.
just turning on Cersei.
Yeah.
I just think
It's definitely going to happen, though.
it has to at this point, especially because they showed the crossbow.
Well, and I mean, the thing is, even if she doesn't kill a dragon, doesn't that piss you off a little bit? Because you're already thinking, even if she doesn't, she's going to try to.
Yeah, the fact, and obviously nobody in King's Landing knows about, I mean, they know of the White Walkers, but they don't know anything like Jon does, or anybody in the North that was at Hardhome, for example. But the fact that she would, I mean, like I said, she doesn't know anything about it, so just the outsider look in when she's thinking about killing one of these dragons, like,
that's going to save you.
Literally, they're the only chance that you have of saving mankind,
Probably.
and you're going to try to put an arrow through its brain.
And then then it dies, and then it becomes a White Walker dragon.
Yeah. So then you have the Night King riding Dragon,
Which,
White Walker.
I will say,
that
would be pretty cool.
Of dragon blowing blue.
You know,
fire.
I'm going to go on the opposite. If Cersei kills
You're just
one
gonna
of
turn
them,
one of your favorite
he
characters.
ends up being a White Walker that rides on top of a dragon. I'll give her.
You got to think that if they're going to kill one of the dragons, and the whole deal with the White Walkers is bringing things back to life, that typical Game of Thrones fashion, they would like the dragon would end up dying, maybe the White Walker dragon, but that would happen, and like that whole scene of when it's turning
unless
and
they
stuff.
unless they already have a dragon.
True.
We just don't know. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. So then it went back to Daenerys at Dragonstone, where he meets with her Grand Council. So everyone Lady Olenna, the Dornish Queen, and the Greyjoys are all meeting at their council. And then this is where Tyrion kind of shows up.
Yeah.
And shows that how much of a baller he is, because he talks about his grand plan of sending Grey Worm and the Unsullied to Castle Rock to capture that, which I think is a great idea.
Yep.
Because I mean that's like the Lannisters' home and stronghold.
Yeah, and I mean I love Dorne.
Mm-hmm.
It's my favorite place. And I love all the Dornish characters, but the one thing that always pissed me off was you can't just go in and fuck in on everybody.
Yeah.
Like you can't just guns blazing, Matrix style, oh, we're going to take King's Landing. Like that's stupid.
Yeah, because in the beginning of the council meeting, both the Dornish Queen and Yara Greyjoy were talking about, let's just do it now. We'll just burn it down. And then Tyrion was like, you want to be Queen of the Ashes? And Daenerys was like, you're damn right.
And then Mama Tyrell kind of pisses me off now.
Yeah.
Because she keeps on saying, hey, bring the hammer. And I'm like, what's that going to accomplish?
And then I was going to ask you about that specifically. When she sat down with Lady Olenna at the end of the meeting, and when Lady Olenna was talking about her, or telling her to be a dragon and not, and like she survived this long because she ignored clever men.
That was lame as hell.
Why are you going to try and convince Daenerys to not listen to Tyrion?
Like, I'm just so... what's her end game now?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand she wanted her daughter to be queen, but her daughter's dead. And guess what? Your daughter basically tried to infiltrate the Lannisters, and you saw where that got you. She's dead, and she exploded with about 50,000 other people.
Yeah. It has to be revenge only at this point. Just the same thing as Dorne.
It definitely is. And the thing is, you are going to get it.
Yeah.
And Daenerys wants that for you.
Yeah.
Do it the smart way, and don't get your people killed.
Yeah, it's like don't be a sheep, be a dragon. It's like, why don't feed this into her head?
That's just being dumb.
Yeah.
And I mean,
and I love Lady Olenna because she's a badass.
Yeah, I mean, killed Joffrey.
Yeah.
Pretty sick.
Yeah, and like just like bragged about it and like walks around
threw it
like
in Cersei's face. Like she is a good character.
Yeah.
She did a lot of great.
And her all black outfit in the council meeting was badass.
But it's just, shut up.
Yeah, I did not like that advice at all.
No, that's dumb. Don't get in Daenerys' head.
No, listen to Tyrion.
Yeah, for the love of God.
Yeah, please keep doing that. So then, I think when Grey Worm and the Unsullied go to Castle Rock, that's going to be like a gigantic battle.
Yeah, but
that's going to be a gigantic spectacle, and I hope Grey Worm does not die.
I'm freaked out about that though, because if Euron knew that his nephew and niece, I couldn't remember the lineage, his nephew and niece were taking their ships and going one way, I got to assume that they somehow know what their plans are.
Yeah, which
we'll get into it.
Yeah, definitely into it. And the next scene, and this is what I was talking about when you were talking about reenacting scenes. Yeah, I don't know how this would necessarily work, but I mean,
I
don't think there's any grand scheme in terms of the Game of Thrones significance of this, aside from the fact that Game of Thrones continues to be the spectacle of pushing the limits of knowing what's acceptable on television.
TV, Definitely graphic as hell.
My thing is with that scene last night, and just like with the angles they got and the blurriness and stuff, and I feel like it's a strategy almost of what parts you're blurring out, what parts you're showing, and that along with obviously the coveted Khal Drogo and Daenerys scene way back in season 1. I just want to know if I could talk to the producers, especially with the scene last night, what part of that do you not blur out or include that crosses the line? Like, how is it like
how is this
you have
okay
to be
in that? Yeah,
like tippy tone.
How is
on
it
a
not
fence.
softcore?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I get that.
How is this not on Skinamax?
I do actually know how they like get people naked together though, and not be naked. I know how they do that.
Cool. I know they have naked color
Underwear.
Yeah, I know that.
And then they CGI it off.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's the skin color actually is almost like a green screen for some people.
That makes sense.
But it depends. Some they do it too. Like there's a few different ways. Because I remember I was watching like a Parks and Rec behind the scenes, and Chris Pratt talked about in one of the scenes he had to do it.
Oh, okay.
So they can CGI it off.
Gotcha.
Or the way they blur it, they can mesh with the actual underwear itself, which is kind of cool to like see the Hollywood tricks. But I will say this: Hollywood knows like. The things that they do with camera work, it's shocking.
Because obviously we've seen that particular sexual activity done in Game of Thrones, but I mean like they made an emphasis of that camera angle, so it's like it's come to the point where Game of Thrones are almost like, we're Game of Thrones.
There's not too much to get into the scene itself other than fuck yeah, Grey Worm.
Yeah, Grey Worm's the man. He doesn't even have a manhood, and yet he's a baller on the battlefield and in the bedroom.
Good for him.
Good for Grey Worm. Baller, absolute baller. So then, I already talked about that. After that was when Sam began his treatment of Jorah and cut off all the nasty. And this is a transition that they did when Sam is going in for that final cut, and they cut to the pie
or whatever. Yeah,
God.
That was awesome.
That's ugh. So then, speaking of that transition, Arya's at the diner, and this is another minor thing that some people might have missed that we both have talked about before that we think might be a big thing in this story is that Arya overhears the Lannister soldiers, or that I don't know if they're Lannister in particular, but they're supporters.
Yeah.
They're bannermen, or I guess that's what they say in Game of Thrones, for Lannisters, and they're talking about that they hope that the dragon storms the castle and overtakes the throne.
Yeah.
I mean, not the dragon itself, but Daenerys, obviously.
And the one reason that we talked about why I think she didn't kill all of the other soldiers in that scene from last episode was one of them says like, something to the extent of we're not all bad people. Do you remember what the actual quote was? I just remember one of the soldiers kind of casually saying like, we fight the battles for the kings. You know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about with last episode, the first episode? And when that one dude that gives him the blackberry wine says, my mom always says that be good to strangers, strangers will be good to you.
Exactly. I think those quotes saved their lives because Arya's still a person.
And the one about this, I want it to be a daughter because sons just go off to fight someone.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah. So
women stay at home, take care of their papas.
Yeah, and so I think that she's still she's attached to people.
Yeah.
And she cares about them. She's seen innocent people die, and she doesn't want innocent people to die. So
she only wants the right people to die.
Even in this scene, we see that she found a friend who was.
Yeah,
I'm just going to assume that he was an outcast, and she even says, "Be safe, don't get killed." You can tell she actually cares about him.
Yeah,
and at any drop of the hat, she could murder the entire room.
Oh yeah.
So
while wearing the person's face that she's killing.
Yeah. So she definitely, she knows what she's doing, but then she hears that because she doesn't know that Jon is.
Oh yeah,
Jon died, came back to life,
Hot
and
Pie
then went to Winterfell and took over all the Bolton's land. And I did they even mention that Sansa is there? Because I don't think they did.
I don't think that Hot Pie knew. Hot Pie is the fat kid that makes all the bread.
Yeah.
He
F word, bro.
F-word. Oh, fat or big.
PC here. But I mean, she didn't know, but she didn't know that Jon was there. And he's king of the North, and she immediately is like, well, I'm going to go straight to Winterfell, which Jon will not be there because he will be with Daenerys.
Yeah, but Sansa will be there, so that'll still be way dope.
Yeah, exactly. True.
So then it goes to her going out of the tavern and then deciding to go north. And then it goes back to Winterfell. Jon is confronting all the Lords of the North in that kind of like dining area where they meet. And
we see Sansa again.
Yep.
challenging every decision,
everything that Jon does. But, and this is
power move.
Yeah, this is Jon just showing his just absolute bossness.
Instinct, yeah.
And makes Sansa Wardeness of the North, or like Queen of the North, while he's gone. And Sansa takes that information and just... And my favorite part, and this might have been my favorite part of the entire episode, because when he says it's going to keep it in good hands, and then she says, oh, who? And then he says her, like the faint Game of Thrones music like comes on in the background and starts to build up. Damn it. I'm getting goosebumps even talking about it. Well, I love when they bring in that music.
And it's a power move for Jon, because she's sitting there always complaining about, oh, why, like, is it so bad to listen to me? So he's like, yeah, I'll listen to you, because I'm giving you power, but I'm also I'm still going to do what I think needs to be done. So he's letting her make decisions, which could end up being bad.
Yeah.
But at least that conflict that people are saying is arising between the two, that tension.
I think he just shut that shit down.
Yeah. And so now it's like, I'm listening to you. I think you can do this, but hang tight.
Yeah.
You don't understand it. Because the one thing that pisses me off is Jon is trying so hard. He tried so hard with the men of the Night's Watch. Listen, you have not seen the White Walkers. We have no chance without the wildlings. He brings them south, and guess what? He was right. He was absolutely right. And some of the men of the Night's Watch that went with him to Hardhome were like, holy crap, this is why Jon's in charge.
Yeah.
And then he dies for it. And now he has to go south even farther, and even those kings and lords are starting to down him too. And he's just like, I've been through this before. Everyone shut your mouth.
Yeah, no one's seen it.
Let me run the show.
Yeah.
And then you'll all live. I'm not going to be a dick to all of you. Just trust me, and let's just figure this out.
No one else has seen 1,000 bodies come back from the dead all at the same time.
In a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With blue eyes.
Trust me, we need this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was an important scene because Jon's leaving. Yeah. And obviously Sansa thinks that he might not come back, but he's just saying, you got the guns.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wrote in my notes here, the quote that cues the music at is, until I return, the North is yours. And then it cues in that Game of Thrones music, and damn it. They just talked about it the second time. Goosebumps second time in a row. I love that music.
There's one more tidbit I wanted to brush up on, because one of the Lord, the Lord of the Vale, was that who it was, that comes through and says, oh, I would never trust a Targaryen. We can't trust her. But they don't know that Jon's a Targaryen.
Oh, yeah. Or he's not the Lord of the Vale, but he was one of those knights that was like on the board, like council of the Vale or something like that.
But he said, oh, I'd never trust a Targaryen. But they don't know that Jon's a Targaryen. So that means either one of two things. Either they find out he's a Targaryen and they bail completely just because he's a Targaryen, or they realize, well, we trusted him this whole time, so maybe we were wrong.
Yeah.
And then,
or they trust Sansa, and Jon put that trust into Sansa, so Sansa's like, come on, guys, get us back.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, is they either with Jon.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So they either trust Jon and just say, okay, you were a Targaryen, but then that means that maybe they're okay with Daenerys, because they're like, well, you know, I was against the Targaryen, but I didn't realize that Jon was. Now he is, and maybe that's okay.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be interesting to play out.
I thought that was a way bigger deal than like just that little blurb, you know, that was definitely foreshadowing to be like, remember the fact that Jon is not a Stark at all.
Yeah. And
Jon makes it a point to say, you're the last remaining Stark in Winterfell. That's not because he's leaving. That's just period.
Yeah. And I think maybe they put that wording in, kind of giving a premonition that Arya was going to come to Winterfell.
Maybe.
Yeah. And especially, I just feel like I've noticed, maybe because I'm watching more intently because we're doing these reaction videos, but I feel like in this season, even in the first 2 episodes, you can there's little tidbits that if you look back on and think about the grand scheme of things, I feel like they're leaving more trail of a breadcrumbs per se in these episodes.
I mean, they kind of have to too.
Yeah, accelerate the process. So then we go to Jon and Littlefinger in the crypts. And my question is, and I was kind of thinking about this on my way back as well, what do you think Littlefinger is going to play in all this?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I don't like Littlefinger because he just makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But
I just feel like he's always scheming.
Yeah, and the thing is, but like, what does he have backing him? Like, who is Littlefinger? You know?
Well, I mean, he's counseling the King of the Vale.
Yeah,
he has the King of the Vale's ear.
Right. I get that, but I just mean like him as a figure. what does he have that like he doesn't have a claim to the throne?
Yeah, you're right.
He doesn't really have like a kingdom. Like he kind of does, but like so what?
Mm-hmm.
And then he's not the king of the north. He's not, I mean, it seems like all he wants is Sansa.
Yeah.
So to me, I just think that this entire time he's trying to win over as many people over to get close to Sansa. And I think that he didn't
do a good job with that, Jon.
Well, and I think he was trying to win over Jon so he can kind of play a part in, okay, if I win over Jon, maybe it's okay and Sansa starts to trust me more.
Yeah.
But obviously Jon is no friend of Littlefinger, even though Littlefinger tries to humble brag himself into saving his ass.
Yeah.
And Jon doesn't have a piece of it. But now that Jon's gone, Littlefinger might be controlling the North because Sansa might listen to him.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought that was because, like we've talked about many times before, at this point, if you're in the show, you have a purpose.
Yeah.
You have a purpose in the grander scheme of things of what you're doing. So I just don't know where Littlefinger's going to come into play, but it's definitely interesting to see where he does.
Unless he... Conspiracy theory.
Okay.
He helps leak information to the Lannisters. Still.
It's interesting.
Which
He's
Littlefinger
a shady ass dude.
But like, if he did it, would you be surprised?
Not at all.
Exactly.
And same thing with like at this. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
So, the next scene is obviously the one that everyone was waiting for, Arya and Nymeria. And I have a little tidbit from the producers of the show. Because if you watch the episode, you might have caught the quote that you might have caught it was a pinnacle of the scene. But when Arya says, "That's not you," to Nymeria when she asks him to come back to the North and come back to Winterfell with her.
Right.
So if you don't watch to the end of the episode, they do a kind of behind the scenes of each episode. And I was reading this article on IGN where the showrunners, the producers of the show, and it was another one of those things where when they released that graphic of the Targaryen and linking them to Jon Snow, it was kind of just to let people know what it was about. And they said that's not you quote was Arya saying to Nymeria, or saying in general about Nymeria, that Lymeria's purpose was not
to come with her
to Winterfell and to the North, but her purpose was to stay with that wolf pack, because the link was when Ned Stark was talking to Arya about being a princess, being a queen with a bunch of like princesses and princes running around. She said, "That's not me."
Right.
And then that was come to present day. Arya is saying that to Nymeria because Lymeria's place is leading that wolf pack. And I definitely thought, because at first I was saying that's not you, and we talked about it first. We were like, oh, maybe that was just her wolf pack checking out to make sure it was Arya, and then go get Nymeria.
Yeah.
But then I read more into it. And it's definitely an interesting way to do it. But it's definitely disappointing because any scene with those direwolves are
Nymeria
awesome.
Is huge.
Yeah.
She is massive. But in the books,
badass.
They already brushed up on the fact that Nymeria was leading a wolf pack.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, so like that storyline already existed. It just hadn't existed in the shows yet.
Gotcha.
So, but again, I think that plays a huge role in, because a war is going to come.
Mm-hmm.
Like we will get a war to end all wars.
The Great War is coming.
Yeah, and I definitely think that the wolf pack, the dragons, and any sort of creature,
the wolf pack.
that's a pack or a group of them in general is going to play a role. We'll see them again.
Maybe. I mean, I just anything.
There's no way we don't.
Game of Thrones, dragons, direwolves are all just so badass.
Yeah,
man, especially those direwolves. Then I just put in my notes, Nymeria is fucking huge.
Yeah, she is a beast.
Yeah, that was an awesome scene. Especially when they all came up and then she just like climbed up at the end. It was
and you're just
so
like,
awesome.
Because you're like, oh, there's like those wolves.
Yeah, which one?
Yeah,
which one's
big.
Nymeria? And then
I know. I think I have a suspicion on which one she. What if she went to like the one to the right?
Yeah, Nymeria. No, Arya, I'm right here.
Oh.
So then it goes into the final scene, which is definitely kind of a haymaker from Game of Thrones, because I was almost thinking that something was going to happen, especially because they established that Jon and Daenerys are meeting.
Yep.
And then Arya's going back to Winterfell. Let's see, was there any like outrageously good news? No. I mean, so it's just pretty much Jon and Daenerys meeting.
Things were in motion, nothing had happened.
Yes. So, and then Arya was going to Winterfell. So you kind of, as a Game of Thrones fan, you're kind of feeling good. You're kind of happy. You're like, oh man, Starks are reuniting. The big meeting of all meetings. And then
big old gump punch.
Yeah. And then the sea battle. And this, I was thinking about this on my way back as well. This was the first, I know we had Blackwater, but this was the first battle where they're
sea
on
sea.
yeah
Yeah,
on
I
boats,
can't think of anything else either.
which was way dope, and specifically that boarding mechanism that Euron was on, that was dope. How it came slamming down and he was on top of it.
And obviously this is a huge scene for the face value of Euron came in, tore shit up.
Yeah, because we were talking about it the other day, and I was thinking, because we haven't really seen him in battle, and obviously every king has that prowess of being a badass with a sword, and I was thinking maybe Euron is just like a politician or maybe a diplomat.
Yeah.
No, he's quite a batshit crazy badass with that axe.
I hate him. I think I like he's almost on par with Cersei because he's just such a colossal douche.
I mean, he's definitely stepping up his villain game.
Yeah, that's for sure. But and he killed those 2 of the sand snakes, which is super lame.
Yeah.
But what I find interesting, because what I said after the episode was, does this mean that what's the Queen of Dorne's name again?
Oh yeah, I forget her name. I forget what her name is.
I can't remember her name, but
Queen of Dorne.
Oberyn's wife.
Yeah.
Is she the gift that he promised to Cersei?
And that was my thing, because, and this is what we were talking about earlier with a possible mole. It's one of two things. It's either Euron found out from either Varys. I mean, Varys would probably be the only one that's could be leaking information. You gotta think, because
they had to be in that council meeting.
Yeah. And you look at everyone else. Dorne would no in hell leak information to Lannisters. Olenna, Lady Olenna would never, and the Greyjoys obviously would never.
It's so weird to me, because it seems like Varys is just it's too easy for Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like that connection, because earlier in the episode you had Varys being almost like ridiculed for maybe not being loyal, and then all of a sudden Euron shows up. But it is possible that Euron just knew.
Yeah, because this was my thing, is that it's either one of two options. One, I don't know. I think it's either he got lucky and was just like sailing maybe to go to Meereen, because that's where last when we saw him when he was talking to Cersei, that's where he thought they were.
Yeah.
But it's either he got lucky or someone's leaking information.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm assuming that she is the gift, because obviously Cersei wants her dead because
Myrcella.
She killed Myrcella. So he would have to know that happened. So, which is, I mean, most people, that's not leakable information. As in, like, he could have figured that out naturally.
Yeah.
So then he's like, okay, I'm going to go find her. Where is she? Well, how did he know that she would be in Dorne?
Or on the way to Dorne?
Well, how would she know that she was in Dorne at a certain time, and then she meets with somebody else, like Lady Olenna and Varys, and then goes back to Daenerys? Because he must have, like, it almost seems implausible that there isn't a leaker, because he would have to know a lot of ins and outs.
How the hell did they do that ambush in the first place?
If she's the gift.
Yeah.
Because if she's not the gift, then he literally could just have been sailing.
Yeah, and he could have
been tracking them. I mean, it could be easy.
And when he said the gift in the first place to Cersei, he could have just meant, I'm going to go out and get one, not I have one in place.
Yeah, so, but I'm going to go on the assumption that he knew where she was somehow, and she's the gift.
Yeah. Yeah, and I definitely think that there's going to be a leaker of some kind.
Oh, and by the way, Theon, you're a big old bitch.
And that's what I was thinking, and I wanted to because they kind of made, that wasn't just a normal scene with him jumping off, because when I went through it,
flashbacks and stuff.
because when I watched it through the second time, they were showing Theon, like, in his face, kind of like panicking, and then one particular scene that caught my attention was when Theon looked down and saw the dude getting his teeth pulled out. So I think that what he went through with Ramsay scarred him so much.
Oh yeah, no, he was
to the point where
PTSD. He just fled.
In his mind, he's thinking, okay, I either go at Yara, get captured, or die. Get captured and then get tortured again, and that's probably what his main thought was.
Oh yeah,
so he was just like, fuck it.
I don't think anyone is like thinking anything other than that.
Yeah.
I think that was the point. But you're just the biggest colossal douche.
And what's it like? Aside from the fact of just running, I don't know what his plan is.
Yeah, like, where's he gonna go?
Yeah, he's in the middle of the ocean, surrounded by damaged and broken ships.
Well, and like all the other ships that are working are his uncles.
Yeah, so it's like,
dude,
I don't even see how that was a viable option.
He is such a little prick.
Yeah,
and I've never been a fan of Theon, but man, what a douche.
Yeah, that was definitely a pretty weak move on Theon's part, for sure. But I just said Yeah, Euron is a batshit crazy badass stepping up his villain game. Definitely cool to find out that he's a badass with an axe, or at least that's his weapon to go to.
I don't know. You really like villains.
I just think they're interesting. I don't know. It's weird.
You like them being good.
I mean, obviously they're not good. I don't know. I just think they're interesting characters. So
that only leaves one thing left.
Two things.
Psych.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Two
yes.
things. All right.
So we're gonna go through some fan reactions. 2 fans in particular, because those are the only ones that posted. But you can too if you go to patreon.com/TJENT. TJENT. And if you donate any amount of money, $1, $2, $5, or $10, $10 would be cool.
Yeah.
But you can get permission and you can post your reactions by 5 o'clock on Monday, and you'll get yourself on the show.
Or throw comments on youtube.com/TJENT.
TJENT. That's right. And we will get you on the show. Because we're all about feedback.
And I mean, just throw a comment and we'll respond.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. So the first Patreon supporter and the first reaction to Game of Thrones is none other than Connor Gartland, buddy of the show, fan of the show, great guy.
Yes, sir.
He says, "No Bran, seriously?" That was definitely one of the 2 plot lines we were talking about, Bran and the Hound,
and the
that
White
they left
Walkers.
out, and the White Walkers in general.
But the White Walkers is kind of like, you only show them when they're fighting.
And it's plus they don't really talk, and that's like 90% of Game of Thrones.
It's just cool to see them.
Yeah,
so the snippet last episode was dope.
Yeah,
so
and we didn't even talk about that in the last reactions. Those giants were fucking awesome.
They were sick.
Oh my god. You want to talk about liking a villain? The White Walkers make it hard to dislike them.
Yes, that's true.
He says, I think Sam is actually going to end up the narrator of the entire series. Then he says, Arya heading to the north is super awesome, although it would have been nice to see that bitch Cersei get killed by her.
Yes.
So he shares your dislike in Cersei.
Yes, the world shares.
I'll gladly sit on my mountain alone.
I will. I just want to reemphasize, you are on your own island with Cersei.
Loud and proud.
And the mountain.
John proved yet again that he is the most respectable person on the show when he gave Sansa the North. That was also a universally respected decision.
Yes.
However, I think you will come to regret that decision.
Yeah, which I'm on the same page, because Sansa doesn't... I don't think she's a good ruler.
Yeah.
I just think it's a good power move by Jon.
And especially when it comes to the name Stark and how everyone reflects on that name throughout the North. It's definitely the right move.
Yep.
He said, I think that, and this is definitely a thing that I do not like, but I think will eventually happen. I think that if a dragon dies this season, you have to kill either the 2 small ones or the big one. I think that Drogon is to stay. I don't think that they kill him off, because they've shown so little of the 2 little ones, aside from the fence, but Drogon has that link to Balerion.
Well, and he's huge.
Yeah, and he's just gigantic.
I don't know. It's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Who knows? Game of Thrones could gut wrench you and just be like, oh, it's the biggest one. I mean...
Oh, we're going to kill all 3 of them.
Well, and for me, it's like... I mean, can you really have a favorite dragon other than the fact that one's bigger than the other?
Yeah,
I
just
mean,
one's more badass.
It's just like, I don't know. It's I definitely think one will die, but it would make a lot of sense if one of the smaller one dies.
Last season when they're at Marine and she like rides him and burns down the ships, or the one ship, when he drops up and like puts his face right next to hers, that seems so badass.
Yeah.
And then I love the ship scene. To me, it proved that you guys were right. Thanks, Connor. That when you said that something has to happen to make the fight more even between Cersei and Daenerys, which is so true, because that battle,
because like we were saying before, it's like Cersei has no leg, like 0, and her pleading her case in this episode just re-emphasizes that if the kingdoms want to turn against Cersei, it is so over for her. It's insane.
I mean, that's what Tyrion said. I mean, if the banner or if the lords don't support her, then it's over.
And you just axe her, hang her from the front of your castle, and it's over. It's no big deal.
God knows creative ways will be done to deal with Cersei.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he said, finally, I think the Bran is actually the Night King.
Yeah.
I'll elaborate that in a later post, because this will be too long.
Yeah. And
that would be quite a twist.
I know Connor is a big conspiracy and lore guy, but I do recall when the Night King and Bran were in a scene together. So that would be quite a stretch.
And the Night King killed the 3-eyed raven too.
Yeah.
So
while
Bran was running.
Yeah. I don't think that's the case.
Yes. Neither do I. But thank you nonetheless, Connor, for your post. Second, we have a second poster. Yes. Tanner posted the first week, and he has a reaction for the second week. He said dragon deaths this season as well. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Yeah. And then he says the same thing as well. As my guess is either Drogon or Rhaegal or Viserion. I totally blew past what the little dragons' names were. He said, Littlefinger is steadily climbing on my power ranking. Thankfully, we have Arya heading home to keep Sansa in check. I think if Littlefinger is going to pull something, I think they're going to put Arya in that situation, so hopefully maybe try and stop it.
Maybe.
I just can't wait for that reunion. That reunion's going to be so
Arya
dope.
wearing the face of Littlefinger?
Whoa.
Ba-boom.
Or just killing Littlefinger because she had some
Well, she'd have to kill him first.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. So then his last thing is, Euron did fuck over all of Dany's glorious conquest plans, but goddamn is he a badass. One of the best things about Game of Thrones, falling in love with a villain.
See, I can't get on Euron's bandwagon.
No?
I just think he's just a douche.
So maybe it's just something new almost. It's like that it's like the new car smell with the new villain. Maybe that's why. I don't know. It's just a way to
and he's not tier. He's not as colossally evil as Joffrey or Ramsay.
Yeah.
So I guess he's
you haven't seen the real intimate evil of Euron because you've only seen him in scenes where he's just gunning down everybody, slicing down everybody.
Yeah. But I mean, we'll see. I don't know.
He's definitely not afraid of anything.
Yeah, and the thing is, we kind of talked about this last night. Really, him putting a hinder on the Greyjoy fleet. So what?
Yeah.
I mean, it's big, but it doesn't stop Daenerys from doing what she wants to do.
Right, and it increases his fleet as well because I'm sure he took over all those ships when they surrendered.
Yeah, but you still need people.
True.
So I mean, those ships were manned, and now they're not.
Yeah.
So I mean, it. Don't get me wrong, it definitely hurts.
Well, if he threw over Yara and Theon, he might have executed a few, but you got to think that. I mean, they're Greyjoy.
He took over. Yeah, he took over all the people.
Greyjoy's fighting Greyjoys.
Maybe, but still, I watched Daenerys with basically 3 dragons destroy an entire fleet.
Yeah,
and she has dragons.
Yeah,
she will take you all down. And then you got to get through the Dothraki and the Unsullied.
Because even with Cersei's crossbow, you miss once, you're fucked.
Yeah,
you have no other choice.
Yeah, you got to be
all you got to do is one dodge maneuver.
Veer to the left a little bit, and you're good.
Oh, veer to the left.
And we aren't even including the Northern armies.
Yes.
So I still the odds are so far against. If we're ignoring the White Walkers, the odds are very, very against Cersei.
Yeah,
and whoever she has.
And this sea battle, which was dope, as we said, because that was the first ship on ship battle that we've seen, which was dope, and it was just a way of them evening.
And remember that Euron did want to go to Daenerys first.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised if Euron takes his gift, quote unquote, for Cersei and goes straight to Daenerys
and ransom it,
and just be like, "Listen, I took out Euron. I get what I did to you.
Wouldn't that be something?
Use my army now. That would be a crazy.
That would definitely be different, but the look on his face last night does not support that.
I mean, maybe, but he doesn't. He wants Daenerys because he wants to marry her.
Yeah, it's true.
Because he wants to be king.
Yeah.
Him, Daenerys, and Cersei all want the same thing, and that can either coexist with him and one of the women, or only one of them can have it. And that's it.
I mean, even when you lay out that scenario, Euron's got a pretty big part to play.
Because if he joins Daenerys' camp and then just turns on Cersei,
can you imagine to Cersei
then
going out?
But then Euron can be on my good book because I don't really care about the Greyjoys, so I'd be like, all right,
yeah, there you go. He kill it, or I mean, not Theon, but yeah. It's definitely an interesting way. Season 7, episode 2 was dope as shit. Yes. And now we're going to move on to our coveted Game of Thrones power rankings. So we're gonna do our Game of Thrones power rankings as they stand right now, after season 7, episode 2, and we're gonna go 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, that type of way.
Yep.
So we get to our numero uno power rankings. I did. Okay. I think I gave mine first. Yeah, because then I gave mine first, then you went.
Okay.
So number 5, or no, so you go first.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
Yeah,
gentlemen.
So I went first last time, so I'll go first again.
Yeah. So I'll go first for every time we do this. Okay. So starting off at number 5, it's gonna be different this time.
Okay.
I'm gonna put Grey Worm.
All right.
Homeboy got laid. Happy for him, but I've actually always been a huge fan of Grey Worm. Super baller, crazy good at fighting, and I think that we get to see a little bit more intimate Grey Worm, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I always obviously we talked about those don't bring a grand scheme of things of Game of Thrones, those things don't bring anything of value, but I definitely like seeing characters like that have those intimate type situations, and
it builds them.
Yeah.
Grey Worm's awesome.
Grey Worm might have got castrated, but he can still work that tongue.
Yeah.
There you go. Number 5 on my power rankings is a kind of a comical one, but just so I could get him on my power rankings. It's not necessarily because they have power, but I just wanted to get him on my power rankings. Number 5 is My Stomach / Jorah Mormont, because My Stomach, first and foremost, because everything to do with grayscale and that whole scine of cutting off
You like it
the
a lot.
grayscale, the pus coming out, was absolutely
It's hot.
disgusting.
It's
You can
pretty
ask
hot.
Tom
It's
while we
pretty
were
hot.
watching.
Yeah.
I had the trash can next to me,
Yeah.
pretty much. And then Jorah, just because, man, that looked so painful. It's like ripping
Was
off a
it?
scab talons like Was it though?
I
Was it
don't know.
really?
You're getting your
It seemed
skin,
like it was
like,
ripping off a
seared
scab
off.
like times 1,000.
Yeah, I mean, again, he has a role somewhere.
We'll definitely see how it is.
I don't
So
like
that's-
him. He's another character I don't like or dislike.
Yeah.
It's just
So My Stomach /
there.
Jorah is my number 5. What's your number 4?
number 4. One bump up from last week. It's going to be Arya because
All right.
now we get to see a little bit more of her, and she's going to Winterfell.
Yep.
Super awesome. Sees Lymeria. We get her back in. Lymeria sets her free, whatever,
Mhm.
does her thing. But Arya has a huge part to play, and Cersei's still on her chopping block.
Yeah. I just want to see, because everything to do with that, the many-faced god and everything that she has the capability to do, I'm just so curious to see how that works out with her list and all the big characters that she wants to kill.
Yeah.
That'll definitely be interesting.
Very true.
My number 4 is a person that was kind of a big character, kind of one of the main characters that was off my list last week, and that is Daenerys. And I put her as low as 4 because she is on Dragonstone. She is kind of wrecking shit. She invited Jon to come to Dragonstone. That's a baller move. But she did send her ships over to Dorne first and then back to King's Landing, and they got fucked up by Euron. So she had to slide down a little bit in my power rankings. I know I didn't have her in last week, but she would have been higher if it wasn't for that last sea battle.
Unless she just got 1,000 ships.
True. In which she would shoot up to number 1.
And my number 3 is Daenerys.
All right.
So for, every reason you just said, she can stay at number 3.
Yeah. So she's a little higher up.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Number 3 for me is Euron. Badass. Wielding that axe, just chopping down everybody, chopping down the sand snakes, even though they were chomping at her.
I just hate anyone that touches Dorne because Dorne just gets shit on.
Yeah, constantly.
The whole show, they just get destroyed.
And they're
it's
so
like,
dope.
I hate that, but welcome to Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Yeah.
Screw Euron, but he might play a huge part. So
Just blood all over his face with that axe. I thought he deserved number 3.
now I kind of hope he just teams up with Daenerys just because that
would be
that
dope.
would actually be pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2.
Okay.
Big Daddy, Little Daddy, I guess is probably more correct. Tyrion.
Tyrion.
What else needs to be said? How can you not like Tyrion? He can he can end wars with his mouth.
And the
He
thing,
can speak his way out of anything.
yeah, and I think one of the bigger scenes, that another one of those underrated Game of Thrones scenes, is when I think it was the Dornish Queen saying that the biggest mistake was Oberyn defending Tyrion,
Yeah.
and Daenerys kind of came to Tyrion's side and said, "That's the hand of the king. Treat him with respect." I mean that's like the first time Tyrion or someone has come to Tyrion's side when it comes to being respectful to him.
Yeah. Well,
So I'm sure that was a baller
and Jon.
feeling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Jon. That's
Jon,
right.
just in general.
Way back
I
in
would
the
say.
day.
And Jamie obviously
Oh yeah,
saved his
Jaime
life.
freed him, and then regretted that decision almost
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah. I can understand why if your husband died defending someone, you'd be pissed, but be smart.
Yeah.
Tyrion had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
He just wanted to fight the mountain.
Exactly.
It could have been literally anybody.
Yeah, exactly. My number 2 is Sansa, Wardeness of the North, Queen of the North. I think she obviously coming into this season pulled off that baller move with the Knights of the Vale, even though it was pretty late. A lot of people died before she came in.
Yeah.
But she came in with the
And
Lords
she's
of the
been
Vale.
worthless up until that point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because she was just been running from Ramsay pretty
Ye-
much the whole time.
Well, I mean before that when she was with Joffrey.
Oh,
she was
yeah.
in King's Landing, she did literally nothing.
I feel like they're just beefing her up for this
Yeah,
big role that
I
she is
guess.
in now. But just the simple fact, she's number 2 now, Wardeness of the North. She's got the power. Arya's going to come back. They're
She
going to
could do a lot of good.
Yeah.
I don't expect much from her. I think she's going to mess it up.
You think she will?
Yeah.
I have
don't
faith.
think-
I have
don't
faith
think
in
she's
Sansa.
a good leader.
Fair enough.
Because Jon has made every right move, and she has questioned
Yeah.
every move. So
Mhm.
to me, it's like if she was in charge, she wouldn't have done anything that Jon did. So,
To me,
but I'll give her the benefit of the doubt.
yeah.
She said, "Jon, don't get caught in Ramsay's games." But I don't think Jon really got caught in his games. He's the military
Well, Ramsay
man.
wanted him to run after Rickon.
Right.
To get him out in the middle.
But nothing happened from that.
Right.
Like, it didn't.
Well, Ramsay's goal was to get him out in the middle, charge him with the cavalry, kill him, and then the whole army.
Right, but it
morale
didn't
would've been-
happen.
Right.
And to me, it's like, I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, Sansa basically said, just let Rickon die, which I actually think, sure,
Yeah.
do that, because obviously he ends up dead anyway.
Yeah.
But
Fishtail, bro.
when she says, "Oh, I don't know about this stuff, blah blah blah. I don't know about this, but I do know about Cersei and Ramsay." It's like, okay, yeah, you spent a lot of time around them, but he just trust Jon.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely
There's a balance.
there's strength and weaknesses. Yeah, because
Yeah.
Jon knows battle, strategy, all that stuff. But I feel like Sansa is kind of like Cersei in a way, where she's kind of like a good diplomat, and you could see her true diplomatic colors come out when she's Wardeness of the North. So, numero uno.
Who else?
We might have the
Jon
same
Snow?
number one. Yeah.
Yeah, Jon. I mean,
We both have Jon Snow as number one. Going to meet Daenerys, make Sansa Wardeness of the North. Just
I could talk about Jon all day.
yeah. I mean, I
Great
think
guy.
I have in my notes that Jon Snow's dick is 30 feet long. I have that specifically in my notes. It's just he hasn't made a bad decision yet this season,
Yeah, he
and
never
up
does.
until last season, everything with the Battle of the Bastards was badass.
He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's the only one that understands that everyone's gonna die unless they listen to him.
And especially that last scene before he made the decision to make Sansa Wardeness of the North, all these lords that are so respected are saying, stay, stay, stay. And then he just hears everybody and just, all right, I'm going to go.
Yep. Peace.
Yeah.
No, Jon knows what he's doing. Have faith in the snow.
He might be
Have faith in
along
the
with Stander
Targaryen.
on the number one power rankings, but
I mean, I don't see him ever not being number one.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll just kick him off just because parody.
yeah. So yeah, there you go. Jon Snow is both our number one in our power rankings, simply because he's a badass.
He's a baller.
baller.
Who doesn't like Jon?
Yeah, exactly.
It's impossible.
So there you have it. We are just over an hour, and that's what happens when you talk about Game of Thrones.
Goody two shoes. Yeah, we basically did an entire episode.
Pretty much. I like that. I like that format of
Yeah.
structuring out each scene because of people watching the episode. They go through each scene, and to hear it in order definitely helps rather
Yep.
than our last episode when we were scrambling.
I agree.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Reminder, if you want to get in on each one of these weekly episodes, I didn't even think I reminded when it comes. Each Game of Thrones reaction video comes on Tuesday at noon Eastern Time
Yes.
on youtube.com/TJENT every week up until the season, obviously.
Yep.
So if you want to get in on each weekly episode and get in on our conversation and have us talk about you and talk about your reactions, go to patreon.com/TJENT. And we are running a special through Game of Thrones Season 7, where no matter what tier you're at, you can put your reaction on the wall, and we will talk about it, and we will get you on the show.
Yes, we will.
Front and center.
It's
Cheers
been real.
to a great
Cheers.
season.
Yeah. Cheers to episode 2. It's in the bag
And hopefully we don't see you again crying.
at the Dragon Cemetery.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely going to be interesting. We'll see y'all next week.
Peace out, guys.
Peace.